from full professors to the part-time faculty member who's teaching a single section, from our custodians and facilities and security staff to our deans and other administrators. Their commitment to our students and to our safety has been nothing short of remarkable. And I applaud them for their dedication and their innovation in keeping the engines of education going. I would also like to give a huge shout out to our foundations and our community partners and our donors for the generous and rapid support that they provided as the pandemic tore its way through our communities and as our students' needs exponentially increased. And to our students, you have proven that you are resilient and adaptable, and it is my hope that facing this adversity will serve you well as you forge your futures in the coming days and years. During this past year, our digital doors have remained open. And while it is not the same as being on site, we continue to engage students, provide high levels of instruction, and make on-demand services available, and we are proud of the work we've done. Now, as we prepare to reopen our physical doors, we are ready to begin a new era with a new normal that may look a little different, but one that will restore the critical college experience that requires human interaction, discourse, and the sharing of intellectual and cultural experiences. With that, I'd like to turn the podium over to Dr. Thomas Coley, Regional President for the Shoreline West region of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities. Dr. Coley.
Thank you, Dr. Brown, for having us here today this morning. I am Thomas Coley, Regional President for Shoreline West Region of Connecticut's Community College. That includes Gateway, Housatonic, and Norwalk Community Colleges. Dr. Gates, the interim president of Connecticut State Colleges and Universities System, couldn't be with us today, but she asked me to share her regrets and to thank Governor Lamont and all of you for being here today. I am pleased to be here with colleagues from the public and private institutions of higher education to announce that we are back. A theme, huh? This fall, our state colleges and universities will be fully on ground, giving our students the opportunity to have in-person classes and services. We have heard from many of our students since the beginning of the pandemic, despite the incredible efforts of our faculty and staff, that online learning is simply not always a viable option. We know that many of our students lack reliable internet or equipment, or simply learn better with in-person assistance. We also know that the pandemic has hit our most disadvantaged the hardest. Many have lost incomes or lost loved ones to the virus. Also, many of our students are frontline workers who've had to educate their children while pursuing their own education. Now, of course, we've learned many valuable lessons over the past year. We have learned to be flexible in our delivery of coursework. And we have learned to increase our online and high-flex offerings to students who will continue to want these instructional delivery modalities. These are exciting developments, but it also reinforces that in-person instruction and services will always be necessary. So my message to all the students who may hear, those who have paused their education, those who have persevered, and those who have not yet discovered our colleges and universities, my message is simple. We are back, and we are here for you. Also, I want to emphasize to our students that now is the time to get vaccinated, fill out that FAFSA, and register for classes in the fall. We're waiting on you. I want to give a special thanks to you, Governor Lamont, who has been a professor within our system himself, for his steadfast advocacy for public higher education. Governor, thank you for being here today and for always looking out for colleges and universities, and most importantly, our students. I hope everyone have an enjoyable rest of the day. And again, I'm very pleased that you could join us. Thank you.
Thank you, President Coley. It is my genuine pleasure to introduce Kayla Garner to all of you. Kayla is the president of the Gateway Community College Student Government Association. She is an engineering science major, and she has been extremely active in campus life. Kayla is a powerful advocate for her fellow students and a natural leader. Please join me in welcoming Kayla Garner to the podium.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I am thrilled to be here with you, Governor Lamont. As Gateway Student Government President, on behalf of all of our students, thank you for taking this pandemic seriously and for encouraging mask use and vaccine distributions. It is an honor for me to be here speaking along with Dr. Gates, Dr. Bertolino, Dr. Olian, and our beloved CEO, Dr. Brown. During this pandemic, I have seen the student experience at Gateway be impacted, and many of my fellow students have not wanted to be involved, both academically and in student activities. With the return of Gateway students this fall, I hope and believe that we can see the return of student involvement and engagement and ultimately more student successes. I hope to see an increase in wraparound services for students, such as more advisors and counselors. As a student, one of my focuses has been in mental health accessibility. Our campus is in New Haven, one of the poorest cities in New Haven, and we are surrounded by some of the best and brightest mental health care providers. With the pandemic, we are under even greater stress. We hope to have more access to wellness services this fall. Thank you all for allowing me to speak today. Gateway faculty and staff have helped fashion me into the woman I want to become. I very much look forward to this fall. Thank you again, Governor Lamont, for keeping us safe, because I really enjoy eating noodles with my friends at Mecca after class. Thank you.
Kayla, thank you for those powerful words. And we also are looking forward to patronizing some of the restaurants and the famous neighborhood restaurants that New Haven is known for. And thank you for your continued work and advocacy on behalf of your classmates and of the college. One of the great things about being on campus, back on campus, is that we get to resume and reactivate relationships and partners with Southern Connecticut State University. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President Joe Bertolino, President of Southern Connecticut State.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. And Governor Lamont, thank you for your leadership. You'll be happy to know that I just got my second vaccination yesterday, so everyone please get vaccinated. My thanks also to wonderful partners, Dr. Coley, Dr. Olian. Thank you for your continued good work in our efforts to bring our students back to campus, back to some normalcy. I think I can speak for all of the Connecticut State universities when I say we are open for business, and we are very excited for the growth on our campuses. And while we currently have students on our campuses, I will share with you we can't wait to see all of our students return face to face. At Southern, we are actually starting to open gradually, beginning June 1st, with a view to commence full operations on the ground effective August 1st. As has become the norm, most of our summer session offerings will be virtual, but we are planning to offer a number of one-day in-person new student orientations and a number of summer programs throughout the course of June, July, and August. And we anticipate that the fall semester will have a familiar pre-COVID look, with faculty and staff resuming in-person teaching and working. More than 70% of our classes are currently scheduled to be offered either fully on ground or in hybrid format, with the remainder online. This represents, for Southern, actually a growth of more than 10% of the number of online offerings that we offered pre-COVID. So we're very excited about the opportunity that this presents for our students. Of course, due to state guidelines, our student classrooms will now be separated by 3 feet of space rather than 6, and we have in place all of the guidelines that we have had in place since the pandemic started. Our goal, of course, is always to maintain the safety of our campus community. That is our #1 priority, and therefore social distancing and mask wearing will continue to be the order of the day. As most of you know, Southern is an institution that is committed to the core values of social justice, and we've made it a priority to reach out to the many members of our extended community who have struggled during the last year, whether due to COVID or the economic or social repercussions of the pandemic. During a day of caring in 2020, we raised more than $500,000, which helped us to establish a food pantry and a social services center on campus for students struggling to meet their basic needs. At a time when our nation was fractured by incidents of racial injustice, we've taken the opportunity to promote education and understanding and further the cause of equity on our own campus and beyond. And Southern has also been physically active in the community. Most recently, our CARE program in the College of Health and Human Services secured a $571,000 grant from the CDC to improve COVID-19 vaccine confidence and vaccine access in communities of color in Greater New Haven. We'll continue to reach out to our students, our colleagues, and our community members who may need our support and understanding as we transition back into the fall. We're excited for what is to come. We are grateful for what is to come. And again, Governor Lamont, thank you for your leadership. Kayla, thank you for your student leadership. And to my colleagues, thank you for your partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, President Joe. The students in our region are fortunate to have really a full array of higher education options here in the region. And so representing the Connecticut Conference of Independent Colleges is Dr. Julie Olean, President of Quinnipiac University.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to President Bertolino, Dr. Brown, Dr. Coley, and to Gateway. What a gorgeous day and what a wonderful setting. It is very exciting to be back in a higher education setting. I want to first start by applauding the governor and his team for your leadership of the state. Your strong advocacy for higher education and for higher education reopening was the measure of difference. Last spring, we were way ahead of any other state in the nation, frankly, because of that reopening plan. You have been an unequivocal supporter of testing, in fact brought resources to bear to enable us to test. Now your unwavering support of vaccines and opening up to any person who is in Connecticut over the age of 16 is a real game changer. And you are always following the science. Because of these steps, I think we have incredible optimism about the fall. We've learned a lot in the last year. again guided by science and by the expertise of our COVID-19 task force, which is comprised of faculty and staff and medical experts who've met pretty much every day since February of 2020. Now, Quinnipiac has been fortunate to provide an on-ground experience for the full academic year. From the fall, only about 10% of our students elected to go remote, but the rest have been either in residence or certainly on campus studying with our faculty and staff who pivoted on a dime. Just this semester, we've done probably over 66,000 COVID tests, testing weekly, and our rate has hovered right around 0.5%. And I attribute that to the leadership of our faculty and staff, but the incredible resilience, adaptability, flexibility, and frankly, maturity of our students who were desperate to stay on campus, and they have. I am so proud of them. Now, the past year has been a positive learning experience, whether you've studied in person or done it hybrid at Quinnipiac. But there are many experiences outside of the classroom that are key to a college student's experience and, frankly, personal and emotional growth. I give credit to our students. They found very creative ways to build and maintain social connections safely while still thriving in academics. But it does remind us just how formative the face-to-face college experience is for students for all of these other reasons. And we announced a few weeks ago that the full semester would be fully on ground, an in-person living and learning environment for all of our students. Now, based on our experience over the last year, we know it's possible to prioritize health while still experiencing just the joys of being in person, living and connecting to fuel our students' personal and emotional growth. For the fall, exactly as my colleague Joe has mentioned, we expect to be in person in the classroom as the norm. We will use Zoom and distance technologies where it makes sense, because actually we learned that in some cases, distance technologies are actually an add-on to the learning possibilities in the classrooms. Students will be free to visit each other in the residence halls. Dining halls and dining services will return to normal capacity, just like restaurants. Social gatherings and activities will have far fewer restrictions. And our beloved 21 Division I student athletic teams will again have spectators. And we're going to reduce the restrictions by a long shot. Of course, we're following the state guidelines in the fall. If masks and social distancing is still called for, of course, we will follow the Department of Public Health. A lot will depend on the level of vaccinations within the Quinnipiac community and all around us. So I strongly, repeat, strongly encourage vaccinations, expecting everyone except those with medical vulnerabilities to be vaccinated. Then we can count on much closer to normalcy. I was listening to Jeff Flack last week at the Governor's Workforce Council. He said better than normal after we all get vaccinated and move to the next phase. We'll only be testing the non-vaccinated students, along with setting aside much smaller isolation spaces for any positive cases. But we want to also preserve some of the things we did learn from COVID, some interesting ways of pedagogy, of living and learning, and offering some more flexibility on how our students learn and our faculty teach. I mentioned, and I'll mention again, how strongly we're encouraging our students to get vaccinated and to make sure that all of our students from every group have access to vaccinations. We're holding next week a student Pfizer vaccination clinic on campus. Many of our students are already vaccinated because they were in the front lines in nursing, in the health sciences, in medicine, volunteering in the community, so they all got vaccinated. And when the governor and his team opened up vaccinations to over 16-year-olds, our students jumped on it. So many of our students are already vaccinated. But for the rest, we're making it easy and accessible to get vaccinated, and then a second vaccine as Pfizer calls for 3 weeks later. So you detect across everyone who spoke here tremendous optimism for the fall. It'll be so wonderful to see every one of our campuses in Connecticut, community colleges, CSCUs, UConn, and all of our private independent colleges back to vibrancy, back to health, back to doing exactly what the college experience should be. So thank you, and we'll see you in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Olean. I was actually appointed at Gateway this past July, so this is my first opportunity to meet President Joe and President Judy in person. And I am looking forward to years of partnership, continued partnership, enhanced partnership with Southern, with Quinnipiac, and all of our higher education partners in the region and in the state. It is now my great pleasure to introduce, I don't know that he needs an introduction, but to introduce to all of you our esteemed governor, the Honorable Lamont, Governor of the state of Connecticut.
All right, well, thank you, President Terry and Gateway and all of our community colleges, and President Joe and Southern and all of our amazing public universities, and President Judy at Quinnipiac and all of our amazing private colleges and universities. I think the message here today is we're open for business. Come back. It's going to be an amazing summer, a great fall. And Kayla, you know, Kayla moved up here from Georgia. She got a fresh start up here in the great state of Connecticut. And I want you to tell all your friends in Georgia, come on up. This is a great state to be. First and foremost, we take public health very seriously. And just to reiterate what you heard, I want all of our students, at least coming, if they're leaving campus, get vaccinated before you go home, be it to another community here in Connecticut or further afield. I'm asking all the other states around the country, make sure those kids get vaccinated before they come back. And certainly this fall, we want everybody vaccinated on our college campuses. I want to make sure you have 100% confidence that public health comes first, and you can go back to school, and you can go back to school safely. You know, Kayla said other things we've got to do to make it easier for people to know that they're welcome here at Gateway and our other schools. You know, with some help from the federal government, we're making an extra effort in terms of mental health and guidance, doing everything we can to make young people feel comfortable coming back into school, coming back into college. A big priority, working with our superintendents across the way. We got to do everything we can to make our community colleges and colleges more affordable. And significant revenues coming from the federal government in terms of scholarship. We've opened up a big increase in the Roberta Willis Scholarship Fund here for the state of Connecticut. Tell young people to take advantage of that. As you know, here in the community colleges, we're going to have the PAC program, so it's virtually debt-free for any young person that wants to come to community college. A big expansion. Make sure that college is affordable for each and every one of you coming forward. On the way in, we were just talking a little bit about the transportation is sometimes a deterrent. It can be relatively expensive. Not with the U-Pass, not here in Connecticut. I tell your friends in Georgia that you can get to Gateway and it's free transportation to get here. What an amazing difference that makes. We're making a special effort, I see some friends from Workforce here, to make sure that our program here at the community colleges and beyond is really relevant to jobs coming forward. And we're opening up a certificate program, probably 30, 40, 50 programs, helpfully designed by businesses, local businesses. So you tell us the skill sets you need. We'll create a 14, 16, 20-week program for you right here at Gateway or any of our other colleges. And you know, with that, you come out, you have your certificate, you have a job, and you stay right here in the state of Connecticut. We're going to make that available at absolutely no cost to any of our students going forward. So they know, I want nothing to discourage you during this time. Maybe COVID threw you for a loop. Maybe you're trying to figure out exactly where you want to be. Here's your chance to get that certificate program going forward. It's at no cost to you, free transportation there. And Beth Bai, who runs early childhood for the state of Connecticut, we're going to be able to take care of all daycare and childcare expenses for you to make sure it's easier for you to take advantage of this opportunity. Tell that to all your friends in Georgia, will you? So we're doing everything we can to remind people, we want you back in the classroom, we want you back at school. We worked really hard. When things were shutting down about a year ago, the first thing we did, as Judy said, was started our reopening committee and tried to figure out how we could get kids learning. I did not want this to be a lost year. And you're right, we started off, it was a Zoom, and it was remote, and we did our best to bridge the digital divide. And then now this is planning for reopening for real in the fall, full-time, in person. Hope to see you there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for your tireless leadership, your commitment to this state, to keeping us safe, and I would also add, keeping us informed about what's going on. And in Connecticut, yeah, like I said, I came to Gateway from Tennessee, and even before I got here, Connecticut was already a leader in terms of its response to the pandemic. So thank you for your work on behalf of all of us. The floor is now open for questions.
Is there any requiring vaccinations for students to return to campus?
Not at this time. It is something that, you know, is happening at other institutions across the nation. We're not there yet, but we need to stress how incredibly important these vaccinations are. The data is pretty consistent that they are effective, and the risk of serious side effects is very, very low. The quicker we get vaccinated, the more of us get vaccinated, the quicker we will get back to whatever normal is going to be in the future. So there's not a mandate in place yet, not for the community colleges. We're following the data, we're following the science, and we will see where that takes us.
So is there something you're watching that might make you change your mind, and when would you need to make that decision so that if you required vaccinations, students would have time to get vaccinated?
There are a number of different considerations to this. So for example, the vaccines that are out are under emergency authorization. So that has some impact on whether or not we could mandate a vaccination. But that being said, again, we can't rush this. We have to follow where the science, where the data goes, and you know, once we know more and we're learning more every day, the more and more people that get vaccinated, we will go where the science goes and where the data goes.
I think the emphasis is on encouraging people to get vaccinated. I think that's the most important message. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our message, and part of what you've heard today, is that we want to encourage people to get the vaccination. And, you know, 50% of Americans have already received one shot. We hope, and Connecticut is, thanks to the governor, is well ahead of most states. And so we're really part of the campaign to get people vaccinated. And, you know, we hope that we will see those kind of results, that rather than having to mandate someone, it's better to encourage them and do the right thing, and we're all part of this community. So that's where our message is at this time.
Different institutions might do different things.
Yeah, and that's true. And I don't want to speak for, you know, Southern or for the others, but I know that there will be on-site vaccinations that would take place, that have their own procedures. It may happen at the community colleges as well, but that's something to be determined. But it will be different from institution to institution, just as you heard today from President Judy and President Joe. So now, so if they want to add something to this, but the bottom line is that we're looking at how to encourage people to get vaccinations.
I was wondering if we could just get the governor's comments on this as well, because as we saw today, you know, Yale's requiring it, Wesleyan is requiring it. So is there kind of a divide between the public schools not requiring it yet and some of these, you know, fancier private schools are? So.
No, I think what you heard from Tom and Terry, I agree with. I want everybody to get vaccinated. I want all the staff to get vaccinated. I want all the students to get vaccinated. I think right now, a lot of our schools are saying we're going to do this through encouragement. I'm going to bring the mobile vaccination vans in. I want you to tell your friends and friends of friends, come get vaccinated. And we'll find out maybe later in the year whether that's enough, and we'll be able to make some determinations later.
Okay, great. And I was just wondering if some of our school leaders could speak a little bit about what we might see in terms of dorm capacity, things like that, because we're going to have all these kids back, you know. Some people in the community are also concerned about parties going on and stuff like that.
Judy?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that because we've been on ground for the entire year since the fall. First of all, credit should be given to the students. They have been remarkably mature and responsible. We partner with our community that is around us to make sure that they have a hotline if anything concerns them. But by and large, even with the restrictions that existed in the fall, which was everyone masked, everyone staying in their residence halls, there were very few infractions. We had some very clear conduct expectations. We had student health ambassadors, student leaders leading the charge. So I have seen students conform under much tougher circumstances than will exist in the fall. So I'm very confident that with students being so adamant about being back on campus, and it's really being driven by them, and the faculty and staff wanting to do the same, and we have a whole year of experience underneath our belt. We have close to 10,000 students at Quinnipiac, almost all of them were there. The residence halls was somewhat de-densified, but students really lived in their pods. So I think it's absolutely doable. We've seen it.
So does that mean, you know, dorms are going to be back to normal capacity then? If a kid wants to go to school on campus, they'll be able to do that?
Absolutely, yes, and that has been the case. We de-densified the dorms, the residence halls, to doubles and singles, but that is the norm going forward, and that's how we existed through the entire year, with people staying in their family pods, just like we said, just like we advocated across the entire community, and it worked.
So some of that de-densification is going to continue?
For us, the de-densification is really about how we want to populate the residence halls, not necessarily related to COVID. Joe, if you wanted to say something.
Thank you, Judy. At Southern, our residence halls have actually been open all year in a similar fashion. We probably de-densified, I would say roughly 50 to 60% of our beds were occupied throughout the course of the academic year. Moving into the fall semester, we have made some shifts with regard to doubles, turning them into singles, and we'll continue to follow all of the COVID regulations that are necessary. President Olean is right. I think the students did a remarkable job. Our campuses across the state have been very safe. At virtually every institution across the state, the infection rate has been less than 1%. In most cases, it's been 0.5 or better. And so I think that shows that not only have our students done a good job, but the staff in residence life, the staff in health services, and the COVID teams across all of the college and university campuses, I think has done extremely well. So I think we're ready. We've been doing it, and we're ready to expand. So if students want to come to any of our campuses and live in residence halls, we'll have space for them.
Great. And then just one last question. I was wondering if some of our leaders could also talk about what they're seeing in terms of FAFSA so far, enrollment numbers, things like that. I know across the state there's been a concern about trying to get more high school kids applying.
Sure. Well, I'll speak for the universities. I think that it's a mixed bag, quite frankly, but that was the case before COVID, that given the demographics of the state, given the demographics of New England, we were seeing a decline in enrollment. We at Southern in particular, the community colleges are feeder institutions for Southern. Right now we are seeing better numbers than last year, but certainly not as up to par as 2019. But that's very fluid, because I also think that, at least for the public institutions, most students are waiting until they have a good sense of what the protocols are going to be, what the expectations are going to be, what the experience is going to be. And so part of the message we want to deliver today is that we're open, we are ready, and we're prepared for students to come back. There were a number of students who took a gap year, and so our hope is to bring them back to our campuses as well. And I think all of our campuses will be lively and vibrant moving forward.
I'm happy to take the question about athletics. We already have spectators at outdoor events. They have to be socially distanced, staying in their pods. We even allowed 2 parents or family members to come and watch outdoors. By the fall, we expect, subject to Department of Public Health, as I said, 21 Division I teams, they like nothing better than to be cheered on with spectators, and we fully expect that there to be spectators back, whatever social distancing guidelines and masking guidelines, but to be back.
I just want to address the enrollment question with regards to the community colleges. So we have, and this is consistent with some nationwide trends, seen steeper declines in our enrollment than our 4-year university partners. One of the things that we don't have residence halls, but our students, by and large, are in from the community. And we also have seen, pretty low rates of transmission and infection amongst our college population. And that's even with, for example, we have our nursing and allied health students who are still doing their clinicals. In many cases, they are participating in the care of COVID patients. And so, our students, generally speaking, are working, and they are in retail, and they are in the hospitals, and they are doing a number of the jobs and the roles that require them to continue working even throughout this entire pandemic. So when Kayla talks about the need for mental health services, when the governor talks about transportation, all of those things that for our students, life gets in the way. 70% of our students are part-time. And so while we have been able to sort of maintain our full-time enrollment, and thank you for PACT and all of the other measures that have gone into supporting students being able to attend full-time. When that happens, we've seen steady, maybe even slightly higher enrollment in full-time, but our students who are attending part-time, for whatever reason, that's where we've seen some pretty steep declines. So again, I would echo what Kayla already said. Whatever we can do to support our students in being able to come to school, and that means helping them take care of their families, that means getting from place to place, that means addressing food insecurity. All of those things that get in the way, if we can support our students, that's what's going to really help with enrollment, but also with workforce and the state's economic vitality.
Will there be any limits on students completing their degree programs online in this fall? I mean, if they want to attend school virtually?
Oh, yes, they were. As I mentioned, we've learned a lot from our past year, and the idea is to be flexible, to provide the access to the various learning modalities that we believe our students need. And certainly we will have online we'll have on-ground, we'll have hybrid where you can do a version of online and being on campus. And we really try to accommodate student schedules, their needs, because, you know, as Dr. Brown has mentioned, we find our students with life getting in the way, and with this pandemic, it's still getting in the way considerably. And so we're finding ways in which we can make access a much more viable option to come and for us to serve them. So yes, there will be online, there will be, we call high flex. High flex allows for flexibility to be on campus or do it through WebEx or whatever, and synchronous or asynchronous. So that's the, you know, how many students will take advantage of that? You know, we see that it will grow, but the idea is to have those options, and because we know that's what it's going to take for students to complete their educational goals.
I have a question for Dr. Brown. So, you know, we're coming back, we're planning on this comeback. We've noticed that there's a skepticism within the Latino, Black and Brown communities about, you know, the vaccination and, you know, perhaps coming back to school in person. What is your message to the community being right here in the heart of it all?
So, particularly among minority or minoritized communities, there's history that goes with some of this vaccine hesitancy. Two things that I would say. From my point of view, and I've done some looking into this, the reward that comes with getting a vaccine is well in excess of the risk of some of the side effects that you may have heard about. The way that I like to describe it, it's not a perfect example, but if I have a 93% chance, if I'm making a bet and I have a 93% chance of winning the lottery versus a 1/10 of 1/10 of 1/10 of 1/10 of a percent of losing my house, I'm buying that lottery ticket. The vaccine is all the data shows that it's that effective. So that's number one. In terms of some of the more, I'll say, historical and not even historical, there are still healthcare inequities and all of that. You know, we are working in partnership with Yale New Haven. Equity is at the forefront of our conversations about getting the vaccines out to communities. I'm wearing my little button here. You know, we are encouraging our partners and our fellow citizens in minority communities to get the vaccine. You know, COVID has hit many of these communities much harder in terms of not only the effects of the disease, the death, the healthcare outcomes and all of that, but also the economic toll on people of color has been that much harder. So, you know, one message that I would give is that in some ways we have more to gain and more to lose around this vaccine.
And I apologize if I
No.
missed this. Will there be COVID testing inside Gateway?
No, not at this point. I can tell you many more details if you like, but part of the challenge that we have, not having a residential population and located on campus, and we can, you know, for want of a better word, sort of keep a closer eye on their movements, is that COVID shows up in a lot of asymptomatic folks. So even if we did testing, it would not be quite as helpful for us, given that our students are moving in and out of campus on a regular basis. Our efforts are towards wearing masks, social distancing, encouraging people to get vaccinated. Those are the things that are going to make the biggest difference in terms of limiting the spread of the virus in the community, both on campus and outside of campus.
What are the difference between what we saw or what you guys had experienced in the spring semester into the summer session? I mean, will there be any big differences from what you guys are doing now? Will you guys kind of continue to offer in-person learning for those who want to take it in person?
Oh, between spring and summer?
Yeah, summer sessions, like what's going to be different?
Yeah. So not a huge difference. Spring we had limited classes on ground. They needed the facilities, they needed the laboratories, and summer is over the last several years has been very popular, at least at Gateway. Online courses have been extremely popular. The flexibility that people have to work or vacation or do whatever they need to do over the summer. So we're going to have a large number of our classes continue to be online for the summer, but come the fall, that transformation and things being back on campus will be much more of that.
As a campus that has been open since the fall, I think you're seeing now with exactly as President Joe said, rates of below 0.5% or something like that. We're constantly opening the valve on what can be done on campus. And for example, initially you couldn't visit another residence hall. You could only congregate with people in your own residence hall. Now we have visits across residence halls. It was an internal bubble. You couldn't have mom and dad or your brother or sister or boyfriend or girlfriend come on campus. That will happen later on as we get to a safe and hopefully herd immunity level on campus. And dining services. We still have a very distant kind of dining hall relationship. As DPH, the Department of Public Health, relaxes its rules, we will follow exactly in line with public health. So I see this relaxation happening as we go. Of course, we graduate in 2 or 3 weeks, so the benefits won't be as obvious immediately, but they will continue into the summer and certainly into the fall. And on enrollments, I just wanted to mention we're noticing that families need to kick the tires, at least on the 4-year colleges, independent colleges, and I presume what Joe was saying. So we're encouraging, especially the weather being as fantastic as it is, for everyone to come visit and take a look before the deadline occurs very shortly on May 1. So come, kick the tires, we're open for you, and you'll see what a fantastic opportunity this will be. Not just now, but come fall.
I'll echo everything that President Olean said, but I'll also add that at Southern, I anticipate that we will continue to expand our opening over the course of the summer. In fact, we just had on the ground admitted students days last weekend, and hundreds of students and parents showed up. Everything was outside and socially distanced and masked. It was actually terrific, and we are preparing, like everyone else, for commencement. Normally we are in an arena, and we have one commencement. We are about to engage in 5 separate commencements outside on our campus. It will certainly be an adventure, and it's taken a lot of work, but it'll be wonderful to have students and their families come and celebrate in person.
The 3 feet social distancing in class, obviously that's better than 6, but in larger classes and lectures, that's still going to mean fewer seats. So what will that mean? Do you have to offer more classes, or will some people have to take it remotely even if they want in person? What will that look like?
Yes, yes, and yes. The truth of the matter is that what we found ourselves doing, and I'm assuming all the institutions did this, if you go into a classroom, there are only a certain number of seats. Seats are corded off. That will certainly open more seats. The sections are smaller. It means we will offer more sections of a particular course because students need those courses to graduate in a timely fashion, so students aren't going to be penalized for that. And students are going to have the options, in some cases, to take the course online or take the course in person. But it certainly has ensured that faculty are creative in their delivery model and their pedagogy. But I think we'll be fine. I think we're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at time. I want to thank all of you for coming and joining us this afternoon. Stay safe, stay healthy, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and we look forward to seeing our students, our faculty, our staff, to our campuses coming fully back to life in the coming weeks and months. Thank you all for being here. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you.
When these programs.
Wonderful to meet you.